Hello, Valerie Ortega here from Boulder SEO Marketing. I am a project manager here, and today I presented a topic during our Lunch and Learn of how to identify micro-strategies. Our founder, Chris Rolfe, he is big time on micro-strategies, as you know. So we are a firm believer in these, and they do work. So I wanted to kind of run you through how we identify them and the steps we take to receive results and reach our goals. So as a heads up, I did just privacy purposes, I did go ahead and blur out the names of the clients. So I will just refer to them as our client and not use the actual name. So let me start the slideshow here. So on our first slide, so step one, I like to start on SE ranking. So once you are on your SE ranking page, you go to competitive research here at the top, and you go ahead and copy and paste your client's domain. So here under competitive research, and you hit the search bar and you scroll down to your keywords. So again, I did blur out just because some of the names and the domain of our client is here, so I just want to protect their privacy. But you can still get the gist of it here. So this is basically what you are going to see when you scroll down after copy and pasting your client's domain. And the first thing that I like to look at, which is super important, is your position. So depending on the client, the sweet spot really just varies. But just as a base, I like to start at 5 through 15. So these are the ones that really stand out to me. So as far as what your position, your keyword position is, this is what I like to see first. But again, it just varies depending on the website and the client. Step 5, so another big metric to look at is the search volume. So ideally, when looking at your position, you have to also look at what monthly search volume the keyword is receiving. So obviously, the higher the number, the better, the more people are searching for this keyword. So again, this is also a very crucial part in looking into a MicroStrategy. The next step is looking at your difficulty. So essentially, how hard is it going to be to beat out your competition? So the lesser the number, the more easy it will be, or not easy, but less difficult it will be to beat out your competition and rank within the top 10 of Google. So as we can see here, immediately right off the bat, it's not going to be too difficult to rank and beat out the competition based off of these numbers. And moving on, I did have to blur out these, again, privacy purposes. But when you're on this viewing, so this next slide is to the right here. And you can essentially just click on these arrows here, and it'll take you straight to the page that you are looking at in correspondence to your keywords. So my example that I had was Peninsula Desks. So Peninsula Desks is a keyword that stood out to me for a strategy because one, the current position is at 14. So that's pretty much the sweet spot. Again, it just varies, but again, that's something that stood out to me. And two, the search volume is at 1.9K a month. So this is pretty high. So that's also going to work out. So right off the bat, I can see that these two are going to make sense. And step 3, the difficulty is pretty low and it's in the green, meaning that it will not be as difficult to rank within the top 10 on Google in comparison to this client's competitors. So right now, I'm feeling pretty good about moving forward with this strategy. So the next thing I do is open the page itself to see if it makes sense to present to the client for a strategy. So just looking at this page, I know that it can be a lot better. Just visually, I know that we can possibly add some internal linking, infographics, CTAs, FAQ, just make it perform better overall and add some good content on there. So something that kind of comes to mind is a guide to Peninsula Desks, just essentially, getting some new content on there and reach our goal of moving up on Google. And another step that I like to take just to kind of reassure my decision to present to the client for this strategy is I go on Google Search Console. So I like to look at the last 28 days, just so it's pretty relevant and pretty new. And I see when I hover over the keywords that Peninsula Desk is one of the top performing ones on Google Search Console, and it is at an ideal current position here for an average position. So this essentially secures my decision, so I'm feeling even better now. And what we do is we have end of month reports. So this is where I would explain to the client of our potential MicroStrategy opportunity. And I usually dedicate its own task. So we have an internal strategy session. And this is essentially where I would present it to them. So this is an example of, so this is the client's response to my report presenting the opportunity, and they were happy with it. They're ready to move forward with it, and they approved of it. So now I have the green light to move forward. And then just another thing to make sure of is they will confirm it, but just make sure that the page is going to be a right fit for their business. So does it make sense, and they're going to gain more traffic from this MicroStrategy? So you just have to really know and be sure that it's going to be worth it. So moving on, now that we have approval, we can move forward with our initial tasks to begin the MicroStrategy. So here we have planned for June for this month, wireframe for the page, content creation and optimization, as well as a layout design. So something that we do to keep organizational aspects here is we have a Marcom. So this is where if a client is, for example, wondering where in the process we are or is wondering anything about the MicroStrategy, this is where we can refer them to. So here we have the status, so in progress, the page type, it's an existing page, it's a product page. This is where we would put the page URL, and then our focus keywords. So here we have the Peninsula Desk's keyword, and then we have the wireframe in progress. So this is essentially where you keep track of where you are in the process for your MicroStrategy. And then part two, so this goes along with our end of month reports. So this is where we focus on, so one tab we have for the overall website, tracking metrics that way. But once we come up with a new MicroStrategy, now we want to create a separate, its own dedicated tab for the MicroStrategy specifically. So here we have, I've just created a new one specifically focusing on Peninsula Desks. And last but not least, we have step 19 to see your progress. So this is the most exciting part. Very fulfilling. You go through all of these MicroStrategy steps, and finally you get to see the page perform the way you wanted it to. So I have just two examples from clients. So number one, we did a MicroStrategy around polymailers. So we are currently at position 3 and 4, varying day to day, up from position 9, which was the baseline. And the second example is elevation tents. So this one is currently at position 2 and 1, up from 21. So this one made a huge jump in very little time. So moral of the story and moral of MicroStrategies, if you have the right resources and you really take the time to create good content, they do work. So they really do work, and they are, they reach your goals. So that concludes my Lunch and Learn presentation, which I'm happy to share with you guys today. So thank you so much, and I hope that you take some good information away from this. So thank you, and have a great weekend. Bye.